Senator Larry Lala, the temporary PNM senator, came in and said, the police, the courts, the DPP, they need to function properly. But he just joined that team and said it's the best team, the red team. 2 days before our election, he jumped across to lose and come to tell us that the police need help, the judiciary need help, the DPP need help, but tell us that the PNM is a good party. It's illogical. We are in this mess because there's a reason: incompetence, lack of effort, lack of resources, lack of understanding. And y'all come here now when we have to fix the mess and making up all sorts of fancy stories like Aesop fable. So this right here now, it seems that SC, when I listen to the Honorable Temporary Senator Larry Lala, SC today stands for Sanjeev Clone, because he said he listened to 18. Well, 18 contributions at an average of 35 to 40 minutes. Wow, that was great research. To come here and talk all that nonsense after that research, it's best he had stayed in bed and sleep, because all he did was regurgitate and repeat what former temporary Senator Sanjeev Budu said on Tuesday. The exact same points. I just don't bother with the standing orders, or I would have stood up on repetition at least 7 times. So when you see Sanjeev Clone talking, you know that the PNM is lost. Out of the 10 PNM senators here, well, Senator Lala advising the UNC government on what to do is like Crow talking about racial harmony and unity. It's like Keith Rowley advising a political party on how to select a prime minister democratically. It's like Senator Al-Rawi advising on how to rent a building properly. That is what I heard here today. And I try not to laugh, but that's the best the PNM have. Our rejects, all they bring here to talk, to advise us after you have failed the country. I mean, at some point, this thing had to get serious. This is not a joke here. The USA has Lollapalooza. It's a music festival, you know, Lollapalooza. Well, today, Trinidad and Tobago have Lollapalooza. We have the competition. They give up. The PNM give up. They capitulate. They surrender when they chose temporary Senator Larry Lala, a.k.a. Larry the Loser. The man losing everything in politics, in court. And today this debate, last on Tuesday, I thought, I like debate because debate is competition. And I want to go against the PNM, or they could bring 10 of them, whoever, and I would like that competition. But from the time I see temporary Senator Larry Lala, I know all the laws, because he bunked the laws.
Good evening, TNT family. Welcome back to the Code. That is the Code program on UNC USA. I have with me here our civil engineer Ken Dalshan and also Mr. Suman Singh, our lead technical analyst. Gentlemen, welcome back to the program. So we saw a little bit there of Senator Allen Roberts in the Senate, and I want to focus on what's happening with the crime situation in the country and those who seem to be delusional of what the reality is. Let's take a look at what our previous security situation was.
Well, my people, doubles and coffee, going out to do some banking. Look how y'all are so well protected. Rowley says guns, illegal guns are coming in and wants to blame the United States of America. Look at all your naval assets, all of your vessels parked up here, none working. 13 vessels parked up here, not protecting the borders. The border open. Guns, drugs, illicit activity, free. Because Fitzgerald Ethelbert Hines and Rowley are in charge. And this is a joke. Media, you don't come out and do it. You don't show us what should be done. You don't make solutions. You leave the PNM with the incompetence. And news breaking out of Bahamas as we're talking about Fitzgerald Ethelbert Hines, Keith Christopher Rowley. That Brent Thomas, the citizen who was abducted in Barbados on the behest and request of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service on a CARICOM jet. We cannot find out up to now.
So we saw what we had, and we are seeing what we have now here with the assistance of the United States of America. And there are certain people in the country who are trying to do everything to send misinformation and get the people all confused about what's really taking place, and hoping that they can chase the U.S. away from our region. I mean, we've seen a temporary senator, a previous senator, and a well-known journalist, Sunita Maharaj, is telling the U.S. to go.
Yeah.
So, Sunita, I want to know who you protecting. Were you blind as to what's been happening in our country for the last 10 years in particular? Let's look at what's one more video here. I want you guys to look at.
There's definitely a lot of stuff in the boat. Looks like he might be dumping some more stuff here. Yep, one. Mark this deposit 0922 07947. Copy.
Over 30 now.
How many objects? Okay, it's about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13,
6251 Bulldog.
14. Don't stand by.
It appeared to be packages, and the first one you couldn't.
This guy's going to beach here pretty soon, I think. He's in a narrow stream here.
Is somebody, King, the SATCOM?
And Bulldog from Victory were counting packages being thrown off. Stand by one. Yes, John, I was, so that I didn't have to hear him.
Oh. Another large object at 0921 07948. And he's changing course. Looks like he's coming back now. So 2 more packages, 15, 16? Yep. And those were larger, I don't know, those made a larger splash than the other ones.
So, these are the kind of activities been taking place with our so-called fishermen boats, right? And then people want to come and talk about who should leave and who should stay and who should do what, and what our Prime Minister should do. Gentlemen, I'd like to hear from you.
Well,
What?
yes, I like to say, well, apparently, these are fishing boats, and apparently they were, those are the baits they were throwing out to catch their fish, So
What they was throwing bait there or they throwing seine?
yeah, bait is, I think the PNM is saying that that's bait.
Yeah. Oh, I think what they were saying probably is those crab pods. You know those fellas up in the
Yes,
up in Alaska, they throw those big crab pods to catch those.
Well, here they throw
crabs.
fish pots as well, Ken.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. So maybe it's the same thing,
Yeah, but you know what?
yeah.
Is the PNM opposition, they said that they will like the U.S. to take back their radar. They don't need that radar here in Tobago. And here is the Prime Minister was lucky in a way to have one installed in Tobago, and she's said that they are planning to install one in Trinidad as well. Now, the radar, like any radar, is a useful asset. It not only tracks drug boats, it tracks airlines and air flights and what have you. It's multifunctional. So like everything else, it's not a one-way street for that radar. It's not a radar to pick up only illegal immigrants or boats accessing narco boats and what have you. It renders coverage in a number of different areas. So having a radar is always an asset. is think of it as a radio, your antenna in your car. It's not only for reggae music or Indian music or calypso music or soca music. It's for everything. So it's multifunctional. And this is what they fail to realize. It assists the government of Trinidad and Tobago to scrutinize their airspace, their sea space, and their land space. So I don't know why certain people, more so these guys in the PNM, why they're so against something that aids in the security of our country.
Well, we're disrupting the cash flow. We're disrupting their business, normal business activity. So they are exposing themselves, as far as I'm concerned, for where their loyalty lies. Because
That's
you
a
see,
good-
what we see happening in the country, and I have to keep reiterating it, is the fact that we have, for the last 10 years or so, well, longer than it, but mostly for the last 10 years, where young people are running around the country with heavily military grade weapons and nobody protesting. But the minute you try to give law-abiding citizens an FUL, there was war.
Gary made some good points there.
Naturally.
And I always like to start with how we got here in the first place, right? In terms of our situation in Trinidad and Tobago with this out of control crime. For the past 10 years, we saw a deterioration, a progressive deterioration in the country. Not just the infrastructure, the horrible roads, but the crime, because we're focusing here on crime. You would have seen the likes of, maybe, I would say, two of the greatest ministers of national security, Fitzgerald Hines and this next fellow with the breadfruit, Keith Scotland. And let us remind the nation that they have risen to the next level, because what happened, they hold the record now for the most homicides since we gained independence, right? In 2022, we saw 605 homicides under Fitzgerald Hines. Only that record only to be shattered in 2024, just last year, by 624 homicides. And those numbers could have increased dramatically, because is an alleged that we still have 100+ persons unaccounted for. So historic numbers, historic crime, and it started from the past 10 years to progress to where we are today. So we have inherited a major problem here, and there is a duration for everything, right? We have to assess it. We have to put together a effective plan in place, and this is going to take time. This is not a light switch solution here where we just flick a switch and crime shuts off. Right? It's rampant.
But Ken, if I may add, this is not unique. This is not unique only to the PNM this past 10 years. Anytime, and I repeat, anytime the PNM has won an election and they are in power, this is a trend. The country experiences the highest crime levels when they are in office. So
and
it's not only for 10 years. This 10 years was a record. This 10 years was a record on it. But the previous incarnations of the PNM has also seen similar trends.
And that's a good point. That's an excellent point.
But gentlemen, they're against the improving of our border security. They are against citizens having their rights increase and advance, and they'll be able to defend themselves. They're against these things, but you don't hear them out about the young people that has been wreaking havoc in the country, right?
Absolutely. So
now take a look at this video here. I mean, I want to caution everyone, we have a little bit of obscene language towards the end, but look at this bullfishness taking place in the country.
Give me 3, 12, and 24. Play away. 3, 12, and 24. $5 a cup. What fuck, man?
Now I want to ask the guy who attempted the robbery there and the gentleman who was robbed is what race?
Well, we all
Any
see what race it
It's
is.
black, Gary. It's all black. Black people getting
Unit
robbed.
3, 12, and 24. Playway. 3, 12, and 24. $5 across. What fuck, man?
There's Indian people
Did you
committing crimes
notice?
there. There's Hispanic committing crimes there. But there's an emphasis on blacks. And Sumad,
Yeah.
jam my memory if I'm wrong. But didn't the previous Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, on a political platform, plead to the Afro-Trinbagonian youths to put down the guns?
Yes, because
Right.
he
So
was
so
aware of the
anybody who
statistic.
right, so anyone in in the PNM who wants to cry race and racial bias and stuff, why didn't anybody caution him when he made that statement publicly on a political platform? Why did Keith Scotland and Fitzgerald Hines and the rest of people who are responsible for the out of control crime, why didn't they step up and say, hey, hold on a second here, but you can't say that, right? So look, we have to face the reality here, and in order to find solutions, we have to identify the root cause, right? And the PNM has to stop this kind of racial pointing and blaming people for
well,
racial
listen to me.
tones and stuff here.
They have no shame. They're totally shameless. Okay.
But they don't care also. They
So
don't care about their own people.
well, exactly, and this is where it is important to the fact that we continue to educate people and bring the truth, and don't let the misinformation spread. In the country, we have to use this platform. I mean, we have a prime minister. We run on a certain premise. We did not run to maintain the status quo. It's better we didn't do anything if we have to maintain the status quo. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Gary, the truth will always prevail. And for
That's
an
right.
educated person to stand up here and say, well, we have just a few people committing crimes of this race and that race. But you know that the majority of them are probably Chinese, and we've seen some Eskimos and stuff here. I mean, you'll be looked at and laughed at. All right, let's be real here. What we have seen here is a problem, and we have to address the problem. Some will be offended, some might feel uncomfortable because they see us in a race there. But that's the reality of things. We are not here to inflict or to induce any kind of racial bias or racial tone here. We're here to solve problems. But in order to do that, you have to identify the root cause, right? Maybe we
Well,
need to put programs in place for these single moms living in the inner cities, right? Who have to raise 4 and 5 kids, right? And
But
allocate some social
there's
services there.
all these
I
things. All these things. Our prime minister attempted between 2010 and 2015, right? The PNM came and mashed it up, right?
dismantle
And
it.
the people who it was taken away from went back and re-elected the government that was oppressing them based on race.
And
Because the last election, they made it a more racial thing than anything else. It was it was blatantly bold-faced. So now,
Okay,
but I mean,
let me go one step further.
go ahead.
go ahead, someone.
This is nothing new in the PNM. They always play the race card all along. And I'll give you some examples. They said, okay, and Dr. Rowley, if I may give him credit, for once he spoke the truth.
Correct.
He asked the
Absolutely
black
correct.
youths because when he looked at the jail, 95% of the persons there were young black males. So he was right. And I will give him credit for making that statement.
With the PNM ruling the country for the majority of our independence. So
Yes.
PNM is highly responsible.
Correct. But he was bold enough to say it. But he was cautioned by his executive as well. Now, the same thing happens in the come examination time and the results come to the fore, and you see it's all race again. Or why so this ethnic class getting so many scholarships? We got to change the system. We're not going to publish all the winners and so on, because their contention is that the children who do not get scholarships feel bad in a way that you don't want to
You mean those people who legitimately got scholarship, but we had a lot of people that got scholarship that we didn't know anything about, that got
Yeah,
funded
but
from the PNM over the years, right?
and nobody
And that
knew.
money was not
Nobody,
accounted for, and you don't know who it went to,
nobody
right?
knew. Nobody
Okay.
knew. But this, I'm talking legitimate scholarships.
Yeah.
When over 70, 80% were of East Indian ethnicity. That was a racial thing for the PNM to hit out against this. And do not publish the names of these persons or the schools they went to, because it will make the lower schools feel bad, the students who have not achieved feel bad, and you also should not publish the results. So since 2015, you never hear results published on the high achievers. How many schools got scholarships and so on. These things were never published. So that is one scenario. Right? Secondly, was the same racial overtones in the crime. When somebody speaks out against it, and you notice something, the press is all mum on these issues. These are national issues. You think I don't feel nice to know that Trinidad has won a gold medal? I don't care who the heck it is. I feel proud as a Trinidadian that, hey, one of my fellow citizens, he went up to the rostrum to collect the gold medal and they played the national anthem. I'm proud of that, my dear. I am proud of these things. But not to say, oh, he's a race, he's an Afro, I should not feel good. Or he's an Indo, I should not feel good. How can we be so biased and discriminatory in our lifestyle? And these same people, I'm sure most of them go to church or temples or mosques or everything like this, and they are the holier than thou, But deep down in their hearts, you see the true colors of these people.
And Samad, you're absolutely correct, right? A lot of people, they just want to in the PNM, they just want to play this race card, and at some point is not going to get them anywhere, right? But more so, you're trying to uplift people, to move them up that social ladder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are trapped in this vicious cycle of poverty and oppression, and you want to help them, right? You don't want to be accused of being racist or racial or introducing racial bias in anything, right? And let us start with Dr. Keith Rowley when he made that statement. Afro-trained Begonians youths put down the guns, right? Now, if I have to criticize that, I would have to do my research. And and here's where I'll start with. Every random video that we look at, and we saw a couple of them here, right? There's these youths of Afro, background, right, committing crimes. And the crimes are committed against anyone, white, green, yellow, brown, black, with the Maxi Taxi video we saw there.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
A
Correct.
black lady sitting in front there almost crying for an ID card. Right? These are poor, hard-working people, productive members of society. Right? But it so happened that the PNM, they have allowed their core supporters, not all of them, but many of them, to fall on the side, right? Because they themselves don't have the intellect and the foresight to push people forward, to advance people, to bring positive thinking and positivity in a community, and upward mobility, right? You want to fight crime, we also have to look at the root cause. What's driving this crime here, right? And if people are scared to say, well, black people are committing crimes, then we're going to be spitting top in mud.
That's right.
Right? Because if we could say, yes, you know what? we've seen a trend here. A lot of black youths between the ages of 18 to
But you know,
35.
we have to understand. We have to get into why the children fell through the cracks like this.
Correct. And that's the next point, right?
That is
So
the
then we
point.
can
They say
use
the
that
PNM
data.
don't want to hear that. Why
This
the
is
children, when the
now
Prime
is-
Minister tried to put the early childhood learning program, when the Prime Minister tried to subsidize the parents to help them get ahead so they can have a better life and be more equipped to do that, the PNM came in and destroyed that, right?
And you see,
So
Gary,
they-
that's important, because if initially you don't want to accept that fact or that statistic or that data, then we're not going to get anywhere. It shows now that they just like it right there, and they just want to look at these people and in that vicious cycle of poverty and oppression, right? You know, and that is a sad thing, and that's a very dangerous thing. But I see change, This new young generation that we've seen, right? Because during the last election here, we saw how the vote changed, right? Because now everyone has a cell phone and everyone has access to that data and real-time information, right? People are no longer going to be taken for as stupid, right? And have politicians run and dictate their lives. You know, if for decades you're not getting anywhere in society, then something is wrong, right? While everybody else is moving up, you know. So we first have to accept, what we're seeing there, collect the data, and continue to bring solutions to these problems, right? And that's how we're going to solve it from a holistic perspective.
No,
So
this is an excellent way of putting it, Ken. But it is my fervent opinion over the last 50 years or so since I'm looking at politics and following government policies and what have you. I think that the PNM government deliberately tries to keep these people as a vote bank. So the more illiterate and, I don't want to say stupid, but ignorant of the facts, the idea to mobility, to social mobility, to move up in life and so on. PNM never tried to help their people along those lines. Look at where their vote bank is. You can do whatever you want. Sealards, Lavendale East, Lavendale West, St. Anne's North, Malonia, and so on. They will always vote PNM, but they were the most economically depressed and socially depressed communities in the island. So
That is correct.
this is a vote bank. The more illiterate we keep these people, we sure to win these seats.
Well, you see, Sumad, when you limit the education, and that is key, right? And people can't apply any critical thinking. So you go in there and you fool them with a hamper. You fool them with a hamper, and you see a black man looking like themselves, and hey, we had to vote for him. We can't vote for a person of Chinese or Indian or white there. No.
Absolutely.
Right? So again, they are the ones who are oppressing. They are the instrument of oppression in those communities, right?
Correct.
Because of their position and how they approach, their own communities and own people, right? You would want to try to do the best and look at upward mobility, climbing that socioeconomic ladder and so forth, bringing opportunity, creating jobs, trying to go after crime, right? And trying to help single parents and all this sort of stuff there, and doing your best, right, for these disadvantaged and vulnerable people in society, But if you are a petty politician, right, and you see race and you're blinded by race, then you're not going to get anywhere. And the sad thing is, the people who put you there, right, don't realize that you are the worst thing for them, right?
This is the point.
So they're trapped in that vicious cycle, and they can't break free.
They can't. So you see, you were part of this team that went and fed people in Port of Spain on weekends.
That is correct.
And so. Eh?
Yeah.
How many, put it bluntly, how many Indo trainees did you help feed?
Look, if I had to break it down in terms of a percentage, I would probably say maybe 3%.
3%.
I used to go down Independence Square. I used to tackle Independence Square. We used to go up to George Street also. And I used to come down to Riverside, where the parking lot is, to be down there. And it was mainly black. I saw one Indian lady on a mattress, and she had no legs. And I ask her a story. I like to talk to these people, you know. In fact, I'll post some videos. And I asked her, I said, "Ma'am, what happened?" She said, no one, my kids, abandoned me and so forth. And the lady's just there. I think, I don't know, she's a diabetic or what, and she lost her 2 legs. And, he felt very sorry for these people. You see black people, just hanging on to the edge. I remember in, was that Observatory Street or Cockburn Street or something on East Porterfield?
The
There's a
one way
lady,
street.
yeah, there's a lady, yeah, right. There's a lady with about 6 kids. And we always go out there every evening, and we would feed those kids, give the mom extra food, right, clothes, etc. This is not about race. This is about kindness, right? This is about trying to help people.
Socially, this social
If we were
intervention.
racist, if I was racist,
It's about being
I-
human, man. It's
yeah,
about being
yeah.
human.
And Gary and so but my family are mixed. I have black, Hispanic in my family. My brother's married to a black person, right, in Trinidad. And I have another brother here in the States who's married to Hispanic, right? So we're all multiracial, multi-religious, and so forth. But this is not about race. You have to identify problems. And if you're going to be, and you have to be a free will spirited thinking person to look at what you have in front of you and say it as you see it. Don't try to say, well, you know what?
But
I can't
what
do-"
did Rowley do since he claimed to be he always boasting he's the blackest man, and I don't know for what purpose was that. Just fooling people. What did he do? What did he do
To uplift
for the people that he claiming to be concerned about?
You know what he
Nothing.
did, Gary?
He stepped on them. He put his feet in their necks, right, and
When it was
abused
too
them, and you
late-
couldn't ask him nothing.
When it was too late and he saw how this thing was fractured and irreparable, he went on a political platform and he pleaded to the Afro-Trinbagonian youths to put down the guns, right? And here's my thing. What are they going to do now when you didn't create the opportunity for them? When you fail to break that vicious cycle of poverty and oppression there? Again, this is not a light switch situation where you flick a switch, right? They are trapped, right, because of your failure to address the root cause. So again, going on a political platform and playing to Afro-Trinbagonian youths to put down the guns is a waste of time. But as Sumal say, give him some little bit of credit there, right? He did have members of his party and stuff probably ridicule him and so forth. But again, it's too late. The damage is already done. You had 10
It
years.
was nothing about
10 years to do nothing.
a mama guy, man.
Mama,
Complete
exactly.
mamagism.
10 years of nothing. The people are just stagnant. In fact, they are just continuing to deteriorate, right? And again, this has to stop. This has to stop, or else we're not going to get anywhere, right? We have to identify the problem. We have to deal with it. In fact, it reached a point now where we have to take some serious measures. It's like a patient, right? That virus has spread all over the body, and we have to now go in there and take off a part of it, right? And do some surgical removal of some tumors and stuff because that's taken over the body,
Yes.
So yeah,
this
is a critical approach here. And when
Yeah.
Larry Lala is saying, well, we need more time to think about bill and stuff like this, that is pure BS, right? We don't have the leisure of time here. When we have a rampant crime, right? Historic crime, we just coming off of 2024, where a record was shattered. Only 2 years prior to that, 605 homicides in 2022. And 2024, we saw 624 homicides. And those numbers could have gone beyond 700 easily, right? So somebody we had to intervene there. This is critical. And get that bill. But also, we need the second part of that bill. So the second part to complement that bill, which is the FULs. That bottleneck and that bureaucratic system there for approving FULs. And we had on the show here, Captain Singh. It's going in 10 years since this man filled out an application 2015 to 2025. And he's running around like a dog trying to catch his tail. These people have him jumping hoops here, right? 10 years to get an FUL to protect yourself. I mean, this is like a joke. So That is why I always say we need to shift that responsibility of approving these applications and signing off on this application away from the COP, because that is a bottleneck right there. And again, that will defeat the purpose of the stand your ground law, right?
Mhm.
Because again, you can't take a knife to a gunfight. We have to arm our law-abiding citizens. They have to be well trained, and they have to have their firearms in their homes and be able to protect themselves.
Yes.
So that's my position there, Samad.
Okay, right. I asked you that question just now initially about the people you went and helped feed in Port of Spain, and you told me about 2 to 3% were Indo-Chinese.
Correct.
Well, Ken, I want to draw a correlation with that because I did the same thing in Tobago. I and a team, we used to feed the homeless twice a week in Scarborough. You know, all done voluntarily with voluntary funds,
Mhm.
right? And you know, when you chat with these people, 100% Afro-Chinese and Tobagonians,
Yeah.
I would say. There was no Indo there.
Yeah.
And you hear one thing crops up, that these people feel that they are disadvantaged. You do not see them in the daytime. They come out after dark, like 6:30. You don't know where they come from. They come, collect their, the box of food, eat. We try to get some information. How did you come up to this situation? What something unfortunate happened? Or, you try to get some data. It's all a data drive to get information. Over 2-3 years we did this thing, right? And you begin to see the genuine cases of some people falling through the cracks, and the system has literally failed these people. So there was need for social intervention. And the question is, where are the NGOs or these social groups and so on? Nobody took up the slack. So there was, just as you said, in your area in East Port of Spain, they come get their food, you treat them nicely and so on. There was no race in this thing. You did it with a clear mind to help people,
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
and this is what bothers me. You try out of the goodness of your heart to elevate mankind and womankind as well. And again, they see you as a savior. That means the people who didn't have any, they don't know when the next meal coming, so they're always glad to come and pick up a box of food and ask politely if they could get another one to take home, because
Yeah.
the weather being what it is, the rain might fall in the morning and they with a little cardboard this and that. You don't know what condition they will be in the next morning. So what I'm saying is that the ruling party, and you see this mostly, that it has failed these people. And we as concerned citizens will try our best how we can help alleviate this situation, help the state to alleviate this situation. Whether that's a breeding ground for some crime or other criminal activities, we don't know. So there is need for the state and the social ministries and to play a role in the livelihoods of these people. Now, being a socially disadvantaged is not, or actually is never an excuse to commit a crime. Right? I don't never buy that argument. Not because you're poor means you must steal from somebody.
Absolutely.
And what the PNM has pushed into the head of these individuals, say, hey, look, you know what, man? It's okay for you guys to roam the streets, see who has. Yeah, that person has a nice big house, nice car, and so on. You all can go there. Go there and take what they have. We will protect you by not passing the relevant laws. And because now they said, and I saw an article which has a question mark, is the FUL racial? Well, tell me, why is that an issue?
How
Is
could that be
the FUL
racial?
racial?
And I don't know how to explain that. How could that be racial? There's
And
nothing racist attached to that.
that is in the
Right?
press, man. This is what I'm saying. It is in the press. They're
The
asking this
press will always
question.
look for stories to write, yeah? And they will write any and anything,
No, well, it's good if they write some stories, but it's only for the benefit and to the whims and fancies of the PNM, because they're the ones who is trying to justify, to say, just like Keith Scotland did, to say that with the passage of the FUL, my constituents will be affected. What bullshit this is? That means his constituents are the one who's committed the crime. That's how they're going to get
that's what
affected.
his man is implying,
He's
Sumad.
implying that.
That's what he's implying.
That's
That
right. So you
that a large population of my community might
is
get
going to
killed.
be affected. Yeah.
No, might
So
get
you
killed
say,
when they go into somebody's home.
and that is okay for them. So they want
So
the
he shouldn't say
existing.
something like that. He should think about finding solutions. He should be a
Correct.
solutions provider, right?
So he
failed to do that.
He prefers the old common law state remains in place. So that is what is going to protect his constituents. And the common law argument is, if somebody enters your house, you have to make sure, find out what is he doing there. If you have to aim and shoot him in his foot, only when he's facing you, and so you cannot shoot him in the back. These kind of BS, stringent little apparatus is what they're trying to ensure stays, but not the FUL law is totally different. You see someone in your house, you have no right to be there. Don't take aim to shoot their leg only, or don't take aim to shoot them if they're not facing you. You don't shoot them in the back. What nonsense is that? When somebody comes at 2 or 3 in the morning in your house, you want to empty the clip in him because he had no right to be there.
Yeah.
So they prefer this old common law to remain rather than this new progressive piece of legislation that will protect, the citizenry at large.
And that common law will get people killed.
That is what is happening all the time. That is in the law books.
I keep whistling that numerous times. If you're going to stick with common law and try to interpret law, right, you're going to die with a smile in your face.
That's
because
right.
these guys are coming heavily armed. And it's not one person.
Common
it's
law, the
3 and
common
4
law
persons.
lacking common sense.
Correct, Gary.
Okay.
Exactly.
Lacking common sense. All right. So there's no right thinking person could tell me that you don't have the right to defend yourself immediately when somebody comes into your house uninvited, broke into your house. Do you think they come in there to have dinner? Maybe they are, and they will have dinner too after they rob and kill you too.
Well, Gary, hold on a second. Remember, I saw a story where a guy went
I
and
saw
robbed
it
someone,
too.
and he fell asleep in people's bed. He took a nap.
Yeah, look, here the fake cop in blue flash.
Yeah.
Rob Korean, and the guy he had a nap.
Yeah.
He is napping inside Raphael, I think.
And who knows, the man probably opened the fridge and had a snack or something too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these guys are very bold. They're doing as though this is their home. They can do what they want, right? They're unleashed by the
But
PNM.
that for me, the way I think of it, that didn't come there so overnight. This was programmed in their head while growing up. You see them people there? Them people rob all you by the way they work hard and whatever they accomplish it. Them people is your enemy. So if you keep preaching to these people that they're growing up that use the enemy, why do you think they're coming after you now?
Yep.
And they listen to the politicians. The politicians brainwashing them, right?
Yes.
But if the people that work hard in the country to better their lives, and they didn't do it by one generation, so most of the time it's the way your grandparents put in place that your parents build on, and then you came and build on it. All right, so that's mostly most of the how the structure is. All right, most of the
Correct.
time.
Correct. Absolutely correct. But again, we have to face the reality. Look at this here, fake cop with blue flashing lights robbed Korea on Valencia bypass on Sunday, December 7th, 2025. So, man, what do you think about this? How you could deal with a situation like that? Let's say you're driving your Suzuki and you're going up somewhere in Valencia and the police pull you over. What's your reaction here?
You see, the total mercy, you don't know whether
Exactly.
they're fake cops or not. Suppose other cops are in plain clothes as well. So
Yeah.
how can you tell when somebody stops you if they are genuine cop or not? That's
So
one
I
thing.
would want to ask the COP how to handle a situation like this and hear what
Right.
he has to say.
And not only that, tell you cannot see the number, the badge number. You are saying, sir, can you give me a badge number for my record? They say, what the F you think you are?
Yeah.
You
So
know?
that's
So
where we need
nobody gives
standard operating procedures. And
right.
the COP has to fold up his sleeves and not focus on playing politics and games with the FUL process. Shift that away from him and let him focus in this type of stuff here. Right? Get well vetted standard operating procedures to address these type of problems here. Because this is an overall threat to any member of society here.
Anybody
These guys
can
can be randomly all over the country just casing neighborhoods and pulling over people at blue light. You see a blue light right away, you pull over. You think, okay, maybe the guy pulled me over, my tail light is out, a bulb is blown or something, I'm missing something here. Or, and automatically response, you pull aside, right? This time it's someone trying to kidnap you.
And this
is not the only time that this has happened, right? There's a lot of people moonlighting out there with fake police uniforms and stuff, and they pretend to be cops and stuff. We saw one guy on a video about a couple of weeks ago. He had a radio, a walkie-talkie and stuff, and they went into the people's home and they tried to rob them. So how are we going to deal with this type of stuff here is what I would like to address or ask the question to the COP.
So
since you're aware of this, what is your plan? Are you aware of this? And what is the plan to curb this? Right? Is it are you gonna rivet some kind of GPS on the uniform now? A special uniform so we could track the police officers where they're going? Right? Or have some kind of way of identifying, or have a standard operating procedures where if you pull aside someone, they have the right now to call and ask for your supervisor, and you have to provide get your supervisor there before proceeding.
Correct.
If not, you lock your doors and you stay in your car and don't comply, right?
Correct.
Once the supervisor is there.
So
right?
There will be.
And if there's
SOPs.
anything outside of that procedure, then you just drive away.
Yes.
Right? That is what the COP should be telling people. If there's anything and you feel very uncomfortable with the police pulling you over, just drive away. Right? And that police officer should put on his lights and follow you and tell you to go to the nearest police station, and we'll settle the matter there. Right? If you're scared or something to that effect. Or if you're suspecting the person as not to be complying with standard operating procedures, and you suspect that he might be a fake police, trying to kidnap you or something to that effect. So yeah, these are the questions I would like to ask the COP.
Yes.
And also, Samad, ask him how many FULs he approved last month and the month before.
Yeah, you see,
is it 50 or 100?
This is a pack of BS as far as I'm concerned. I said it before, but I'm going to repeat it now again. If there are 20,000 applicants and you're approving 10 per week, that's 40 per month. That's 480. When are you going to finish? When are you going to finish your 20,000 applicants at this point in time?
There's 40 plus years. There's 50 years.
Now, let's say there's a criteria, or 5 or 6 or 10 criteria or parameters for you to be granted an FUL. You there's lots of algorithms, the technology, the AI can come into play. Right now, as they do in HR, when you're applying for a job, is your HR manager is not the one who is screening your resume. It's an AI that's screening your resume. And
Right.
it gets kicked out if you do not meet the criteria on the job specification, what the requirements of this job entails. So if you do not meet that criteria, you're kicked out. In the same way, use the same algorithm to grant or not grant persons to get a FUL license. No, let's say there are 10 parameters and I have met the 10 parameters. I applied and I have met the 10 parameters. Now these scans, this AI thing will scan that 20,000 in less than a day. It less than a day, it will scan those 20,000 applications.
So
if
that's
you,
why the technology could address the time efficiency.
So if you have, let's say, 10 parameters, somebody only has 5, so it kicks out into a batch. This guy needs 5 more to qualify. But what if there's a person with 9 who have met 9 of the 10 parameters? Well, he's in another batch. And if the person who have matched the 10 parameters, he has everything correct, you should be able to get your FUL within a week.
Correct. That's correct. Yeah.
Go and get your psychometric testing and so on, be done, and you get your FUL. So
Go and start training. Go and start training right away.
Right?
Yep.
So the person who have 9 criteria, who has met that, he only has 1 that he has not met. He is into another character, so he should be getting the next week, providing he fulfills that 1 criteria he's missing. And like that. So in less than, I would say, 6 months or so, that 20,000 applicants or applications would have been processed. Rather than wait 40 years, rather than to wait 40 years. So there's procedures and systems in place you have to put, right?
By that time, the applicant dead.
Applicant dead, he may dead one way or the other.
Natural causes by violence.
Yeah.
Victim of violence.
So I hope the government uses that methodology in selecting or having a criteria, and do not leave it for the commissioner of police only to approve or disapprove. That is not making any sense at all. In fact, that's a backward step.
You're limited by capacity, yeah?
Yeah.
1 man to handle a whole country of a million some people, or 20,000 applications.
And even if this is farmed out, to different counties, let's say you have 8 counties, 8, Southwestern Division here, in Superior is the one in charge of this area, Victoria and Southern Arriva, Mayaro. Still, it will not be done in 10 years' time. You cannot do it within 10 years' time.
So, correct.
So you need to use the technology. What about the persons? And I'm saying, if there are 10 parameters to be filled or to make you qualified, and you only have 9 so far, that should not hold you back more than a week. If you have met 8, you only have 8, and you have 10 criteria or parameters to be met, okay, you only have 2 more parameters. Let's say you have 8 correct and you have 2 to meet again. That should be done in 2 weeks' time. 7, out of the 10, let that be 3 weeks to build. So within 6 months, you've cleared up all your backlog. Just don't lump it. I think they will do, okay, if there are 10 parameters, all the person who have had 10, complete 10, you will get it. And the others will be lumped all in one. So whether you have 9, you met 9 of the criteria, or you met 1 of the criteria.
Let me just interject and make a point here also. Let me just interject briefly and make a point here.
Yeah, sure.
And something that you mentioned here with the AI technology, it is not going to discriminate against these applicants. And that is very important.
Obviously.
It's not going to say, hold on a second, this last man, this applicant name is Singh here. Now let me put this aside. Okay, this one is John here. Let's put this aside. Right, Albert, right? The software is going to be very efficient and effective And we are going to be saving time here and lives. And lives, very important.
Lots of lives. Lots of
Because
Let's look at the screen, guys. You're getting comments from the audience.
I can hardly see the comments. It's so small on
Good.
mine. Someone, you could read those comments there?
I can't.
Gary, I can hardly read the comments because of my phone.
Hey, can you put it in the
print is
chat,
small.
Gary? Can you put it in the chat? Because I can read it from
Look
the
at the
chat.
screen now and see if you can read it better. Hold on a second.
Gary, on your panel, I got to go. I will still say I don't trust any police officer. I can't tell who to trust. Correct.
Correct.
That's what you're saying, Nadia. That's exactly
Someone, look
what
at
you're
that big headline there from Ian Allen. Fake cops
6-3
with blue lights
6-3-1?
flashing.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
You know, they rob a courier in Valencia. Right?
Pick it up.
Oh,
Pick it up.
people
ahead.
are going to get scared of the
Cancellation
police
6-1.
now, right? They're going to get scared of the police. Somebody with me?
Yeah, I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Listen.
So I'm just going to put you on the spot here. You're driving on the road here, right? And all of a sudden you see blue lights behind you. After just reading this headline here, what's going through your mind, right?
Should you stop or should you continue driving? That's
You
the
know,
question.
I am going to probably call 999 and say, hey, look, the police is behind me. I'm scared, and I'm going to the nearest police station. I put on my blinkers.
Okay,
I put my
that's
hand on
one
and say, hey,
scena-
follow
that-
me.
But
follow
Ken,
me.
that is only one scenario.
Mhm.
What about if it's in the night? What do you do?
Well, I probably put on my blinkers and go to the nearest police station and look for that in Waze. When I go
So
straight
that
there.
means right
And I
away.
call 911 also and say, hey, this, I'm very suspicious of the police here. There's something out of the norm, and this is not proper protocol and procedures here. And I'm coming straight to the police station. The guy is following me. Sorry, the alleged police officer are following me. I think they're fake police officer, and I'm coming straight to I'm not running away from them. I'm coming straight to the nearest police station here. The guys could expect me there, and I'm gonna stay on the phone. I have his license plate. Also, Sumad, a dash cam is important also. I think
big time.
motorists should invest in a dash cam. It's very, very important. So that you
Yep.
could pick up some kind of footage,
Yeah,
or a license plate or something, or a guy's face.
conversation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people are going to lose confidence in the police service because of these fake police officers. Not all police officers are bad.
Going to lose. That happened already.
Yeah. Yep.
Now,
Yep.
Ken, exactly what you're saying. In 2005, I had an experience here in Trinidad. Exactly what you're saying. I saw a guy tailgated me from Marabella right down to Barataria roundabout. Right? I called the cops because I was going to Barataria. And he advised me, he said, don't worry, just drive into the station, Barataria. I happen to know where the Barataria police station because I used to live in Barataria as well. And my brother lives there still. So I knew exactly, and I drove into the station, and funny enough, there were 3 or 4 guys with SLRs right at the entrance. So I gave them the description of my vehicle and so on, so they knew it was me who was coming. And the color of the other car, which was tailgating me, and he was always trying to pass me all over Shoguners, and I wouldn't let him pass at all. I swerved right, left to make sure. And whenever I think he's going to overtake, I had a turbo vehicle, so I would just kick in the turbo and just remain ahead, right through from Marabella right down to Barataria. Could you imagine if there was a traffic jam or anything? It was a Sunday evening, like about 4:30. I had to take that. Thank God it's me and me alone in the vehicle.
That is what you call quick thinking there.
My
And a lot of
family
people
was
wouldn't think like that, Samad. A lot of people stop, and because it's normal, it's a normal reaction. Let me put on my blinkers and pull aside.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So they're going to pick up a lot of victims.
The police was communicating. Thank God was on me or with me all the time. Hey, when I reach Barataria around about, I say, okay, I'm here right now. I should be there in about 5 minutes. He said, there's a driving right and I know where it was, the side street in next to Jogi Road there, it was where the police station is, next to, the Baratara Secondary School. And that's said street.
Yeah.
So I just drove
But
into
you
the
know,
right.
but you know, Samad, just to interject, what if we had GPS on these vehicles, all these vehicles, and when you make that call, right? They could look at the GPS and say, okay, yes, Mr. So and so, that's a real police vehicle that's following you, and we have him on GPS here. His license plate number is XYZ, and you know what? Is that the license plate there, right?
Yeah, but who is
You
to
know,
make that decision, and how are you going to believe, what,
well,
how Trinidad operates,
yeah,
right?
well, the COP has
The-
a lot of work to do, right? He
Plenty
has a lot of
work.
work to do.
And
If he
these are
has people
these
moonlighting as fake cops, he has to address that because that's a big problem for the entire nation.
This is why SOPs are important, standard operating procedures, so the public
Correct.
will know. The public will know, and you see all these police youth clubs and so on. These are nice things, yes, but to inform the people to know their rights and so on. In the daytime, it's okay. You don't mind somebody pull you over at 7 because in the highway because there are a lot of people are traversing. But what is 11 o'clock in the night?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's you and your family going home, let's say from the airport.
But
or something.
Suman, they kidnapping you in the daytime, so we're not day or night, so we don't have to do with
I
anything.
still think in the daytime.
No.
is
Look at the
fine.
situation here. Remember this young man who had complained that there was a lot of suspicion in the police handling of his mother hanging herself, and there was nowhere she could have do what she did there to hang herself on that particular tree, right? And he was complaining about the police handling. Now they found him hanging. What do you think of that? That's the guy who retired from the police force because of how they treated him in the investigation, right?
So they found him hanging.
Yeah, now he's hanging.
The psychological pressure of being in the force.
No. Before we go there, remember he complained about.
Yes, he complained. I remember this case. He complained about it and the reason why he left because the way they treated his mother.
The whole handling investigation, everything was very suspicious. All right. He had a lot of issues with how they handled this case, and that how the mother found herself on that particular tree. She couldn't do it herself. So the police investigation, was very concerning to him. Now they find him hanging. Don't you feel that to be more suspicious now?
Oh, that has to be investigated for any kind of foul play.
So you see, these are the things with the commissioner has to get his ass cracking on, man.
Correct.
Don't be doing this administrative nonsense. You have to be leave that for the administrators to do. And you, as a trained cop, should be doing what you are best trained to do. And this is the misallocation of labor resources. They'll have a chef in a restaurant who is packing chairs. No, you don't do that. Or wipe down tables in a restaurant. You're the chef. You have been paid big bucks. Cook the damn food and nothing.
Right.
Do what you're supposed to do. Similarly, what Ken is saying, let the COP do what he's best trained to do. Right? And
Also, as things evolve, you also have to change your game plan, right? You have to look at the overall police force and see how to improve, right? How to cut down waste. There's always good cops and bad cops, right? Not all cops are bad, right? Promote the ones that are good, who are delivering results, who really fighting crime, making a
but you see,
effort.
we understand it, but we have those who are corrupt, seem to be suffocating the system and getting away with it, and have those good cops in the force under restraint. Those people who are doing their job, those who want to do their job. You see, we have to be serious with this police administration, and don't come play smart with foolishness for us. We have changed. We the people have changed government because we wanted some improvement, and we want a police force that we can trust. So don't come and try to sell us this kind of crap. You
Correct.
understand
You're
what I
absolutely
mean?
correct. So
Yes.
pull up his sleeves and get to work, right? That's why I always continue whistling here and mentioning here. Shift
But
that FUL application administrative work away from him, right? And let him see about building the police force and addressing some of the key issues affecting
The
the
police
police force.
administration has failed to police the police force.
Mm-hmm.
That
Correct.
is what they do. They fail to police the police force, and this is why we're in the predicament that we're in. Now, let's look at this video here on Homeland Security Minister responding to the kidnapping situation. Hold for a second.
Minister, good day. Any comments about the recently kidnapped couple on Monos Island? Anything you could tell us in terms of what's happening with that?
The police the police has expressed that this is a high priority case. Ministry of Homeland Security also looking at this in a particular type of way. And the question must be asked now, like, how are we to secure our citizens at that location? It seems that we were left with almost no assets. But we are working on something together with the Minister of Defense. But I also want to ask the public this question. How they are looking at this now, when my Prime Minister spoke about the radars, how they are looking at this now, when my Prime Minister spoke about what the United States is doing on our sea. Well, not on our sea really, but out in the international waters, how they are looking at that. Is it go about your business every day like everything normal, or are we taking a particular stand? And this is what the country needs to understand. When things happen, do we take a stand, or we just relax and say, well, all right, well, it's just another day living in Trinidad? No. We have to take a stand against that type of behavior, because who knows? That person would have come in that area there on a boat and all of that, possibly from another place. I don't want to give out too much information because the police has some information, and abduct persons, citizens of this good land.
Will the radar in Tobago be an asset in trying to solve this
Definitely.
case?
And you see, that is what the rumors are spreading. And that's why we had very little to say at the time. Rumors were just spreading about the place. And let us be real. Let us be real. Many of you are here, you're reporters for a number of years. What we continue to see, not the same thing happen every day. Boats coming in, we don't know that, and all of these things. This is what we're trying to strategically organize. Technology at its best in order to prevent these things from happening. Now that it happens, what do? Are the same citizens who are making all these comments about it all the time, what are they going to say now? How are we preparing for this?
You said it'll definitely be an asset. In which way? Whatever you can share with us.
Well, what I can tell you is this. We will have knowledge about a lot of different things.
Is there a need for another radar system in Trinidad now? You're saying that the Monos Island may be a little defenseless. What are your plans to strengthen that security there?
If it was left to me, I would have circled my little country with any type of technology that could better protect my citizens.
So yes?
Answer that.
Minister Alexander, our U.S. military radio broadcast said that the radar could be used in U.S.-Venezuela conflict. Is data from the radar being used beyond domestic security? Is that information being shared with the U.S.?
Let me answer this question just how I just answered a short while ago. We are treating with this situation where we must benefit from what is happening, or persons coming into our country to cause any problems. That's all I can tell you.
Who is getting the information from the radar in Tobago?
Who?
Who is getting that information from the radar? Who is that being fed to?
No, this will be shared with you all eventually. I don't want to broadcast anything.
Local or US? You can at least tell us if it's local, international.
As I said before, everything is a joint operation in and around Trinidad and Tobago, right? So that's what we're treating it.
Mr. Alexander, finally on a different note, we saw recently murder-suicide in Claxton Bay. Restraining orders continues to be an issue in terms of its enforcement. Is the government looking at any other ways of dealing with these restraining orders? Any technology that you mentioned just now?
I'm glad that you asked me this question because I have always said openly, I don't think that program works well. So we are taking a look at it to see how best we could treat with it. Now, we must now cater for sometimes there would be domestic situations, yes. Some of them will not come to the attention of law enforcement. Things that happen, and this lady could fight tonight. And I get so angry, my lady, that I do you something, you see? Now, we could go into all the aspects of it. You should know who's your partner and all of that. Some things happen spontaneously. And we know that from my experience. So what I'm saying to you is this, we need to treat with that situation and also educating persons as they go along, at least from the school level, those who intend to be adults in not too distant future, how to treat with that type of conflict.
Any concerns about a possible resurgence of kidnappings?
We don't see it, but then we must be prepared for it. That's what it is. We don't see it, but we must be prepared for it. So as we speak, a number of meetings is taking place as to how to go forward. Now, all I want to leave is this with you. Are we going to be the same Trinbagonian citizen that opposes technology, or when persons come in this country to assist you? That's all my questions are today. Thank you.
As you can see, the bodies are being taken away by undertakers.
But
Okay.
you coming back to you on the technology, right? The Minister of Defense said, when you get technology, right, we shouldn't reject it, right? To use it and have it deployed. Just like what you mentioned previously with regards to the AI, how it could
And
help.
the radar
Yeah.
is a multi-purpose, and it's not only to track bolts and so on, it tracks everything. It's like an antenna. It doesn't only pick up in your car radio, it doesn't only pick up KAISO or SOCA, but it picks up all the radio stations within range. So you can
I was
end
supposed to have Captain Singh join us. He said he would join us around 8 o'clock. So I'm not sure if he's running a little late because I wanted him to comment on this piece of apparatus because he have used this.
Okay, go ahead.
They have used all this technology in the army in Kosovo and Afghanistan.
Syria.
Yeah, and he was also in deployed in South Korea and stuff. So he's he has a lot of wealth of experience with this type of military equipment and so forth. So hopefully he should join us soon, so sometime point along the program here.
The question is, do we prefer to have this or we don't prefer to have this in our island? And that's the question.
You see the misinformation that the PNM and certain persons were pushing in the country, right? And trying to get the people riled up, making them feel like they're in danger. Things have been put in place to secure you, because you have seen even here tonight how the borders were left totally unsecured. We had too many people. So what the minister is saying, the joint operation and whatever is happening out there is working for us.
That is correct.
Common sense, it's working for us.
Absolutely.
And Gary, we're not paying
these
for this.
ships out there working for us. It's putting a restraint on things.
Every time
you see it in the data
we
right
intercept
away.
drugs. Right? And whenever we intercept drugs there, that equates to lives saved. Right? Drugs accounts for a lot of social problems in our society and also lives. This fentanyl and crack cocaine and stuff.
But you see, Ken, it seems to be impacting on the cash flow of the PNM.
Right,
so that's why
the next point.
They are the ones who is kicking up against it. In fact, this weekend, if you hear the PNM opposition in Tobago saying that they want to see the radio removed, that is an election promise, because election in Tobago is held 1 month from now on the 12th of January, and he was speaking over the weekend. and that he wanted to have this radar at Crown Point be removed. But removed from what? Removed
Right, but
from
what is the real justification driven by facts to remove that? Right?
You know, so you see, these are the things they will not tell the PNM population or the PNM voters. Hey,
Yeah.
but they rile up against the sentiments. It's called sentiment
You know,
analysis.
correct.
They
As
see
Gary,
they
yeah,
see
as
the
Gary,
headline in the
Go ahead.
press, and the press, PNM press, of course, and they say, well, this is impacting on tourism in the island. We don't want bullshit. It's It's giving you
So additional security is
never
threatening tourism.
correct.
Right? The additional resources there to protect you and to respond more effectively because we don't have the assets to respond as you would need it should these dangers and threats really take place. How effective has our Coast Guard been? I mean, having this kind of asset there, could you imagine the response and not also the restraint? The restraint that the fact that they're there policing and patrolling the waters is increasing your security. Whatever happens between them and Venezuela have nothing to do with us.
Correct. Yeah.
But what their presence alone there is benefiting us.
And Gary, you use a good word, mama guy, right? They only get the only mama guy, and the PNM only mama guy and their supporters, right? They not see the value.
We have to respond to them
and
fire right back at them.
Exactly.
You know, there are too many of our people who are quiet, like they're afraid to speak.
Look at the PNM senator. The woman said, Tobago has been invaded by the US with its radar, right? I mean, the foolishness, you know.
Yeah.
These people are just there for the PNM to mama guy their supporters to get votes. They come with an argument that's baseless. They can't stand on their own two legs and argue the facts because they have no facts, right? And that is nonsense. And as Sumad, my good friend Sumad says, pure bullshit, right? To the highest level. You know.
At the highest level, correct. At the highest level, because they just try to rile up their supporters into believing what they are seeing is true without any factual evidence. In fact, I will always, whichever government is in power, once I can feel safer as being a Trinbagonian, I'll welcome that regardless of whichever party it is. Now, we're going to come, the Honorable Prime Minister is saying that we should have one of these radios in Trinidad as well, and one is being planned to be, set up soon. So wouldn't that make the other people here feel that a lot safer as well? So once again, safety is the issue. Anything that improves the safety of the islands is fine.
Maybe some of the PNM forgot that we are 7 miles off the coast of Venezuela.
They don't realize that.
The geopolitical problems there, right? We have been impacted from that, right?
The
last 10 years with our porous borders, how many immigrants have we opened up, have been invading our country without being properly vetted, right? Now, look, I'm not saying anything bad about the poor people who are trying to get away from the oppression and stuff and look for a better life. But what about the drug dealers? What about the serial killers and rapists and this trend Viagra and stuff coming to bring drugs and guns and human trafficking? We see how the country has deteriorated, right?
Correct.
We see all this prostitution and drugs there and guns. Guns galore. Everyone has a gun now, right? There's more illegal guns probably than legal guns in Trinidad right now. Right?
For sure.
So over the last 10 years under the PNM government, the country has deteriorated to historic levels, right? So these same people now, right, we are trying to fix the problem and work with a global powerhouse in terms of an ally, right, to remedy some of these problems that we've been facing with or we've been plagued with over the past 10 years. Now they bring in these baseless sort of claims and trying to mama guy supporters again. As Gary well said, we have to put an end to that, right? That nonsense, we have to put an end to it. Now, one more point, Samad. It is not costing us anything for us to be safer, to make us safer Trinidad and Tobago, right? With the US presence there, right? With the radar there. It's not costing us anything. So it's a big plus for us.
In fact, It was a big economic plus for us. And this, from the point of view, we are reaping the benefits already in the economic sphere.
Correct.
With the reduction in the tariffs and what have you. Accessibility to the U.S. markets, a lot of approvals from the oil companies to restart drilling and exploration and so on. So these are the economic benefits that are accruing at this time for Trinidadians and Tobagonians. In
That is
addition
absolutely
to
correct.
feeling that greater sense of safety. So, and you add that, you look at the data now and see, well, wait a man, it's a 40% reduction in crime. That was perhaps the biggest challenge for any government. And here's that the UNC have been able to reduce crime by that amount just by aligning ourselves with the, with the Southern Command. So look at the economic benefits, the social benefits, and see it's redounding to the people here. So only those who cannot see but prefer to listen to what their so-called leaders are telling them.
You see, the thing about Rowley Churchill was more concerned about offending Maduro. You understand? And whatever activities that was taking place, because all our Coast Guard resources were under restraint, and the so-called raiders that they claim to be working efficiently, was working so efficiently that everything passed right through. Right? Everything passed right through.
No,
the scanners in the port also.
Yeah.
But we have our prime minister that's seeking the interests of our security, and they are trying to beat her up in any which way, trying to mount any kind of retaliation against her, while she is doing everything to ensure, to secure you, as far as security is concerned, to secure you economically, to secure you with healthcare, with everything that you could think of, educationally. She's bringing all the resources, and a lot of resources that are coming forward because of her, and yet you have these fools trying to attack her. We cannot sit down and tolerate that.
Gary, those same fools, they are responsible for the historic decay. So obviously they will want to find some way, some means or methods, or some way to misconstrue the facts, to mama guide their supporters and the people, right? Again, what the argument that they bring to the table here is baseless, it's trivial, it's unimportant. Because you know what? Who are they who have delivered the historic crime and lawlessness that this country has ever seen since we gained independence? Who are they to come now and preach to the choir about crime when they're the one who holds the record, right, for the most amount of homicides in 2024 and 2022, right? So they've lost a lot of credibility there. But again, as Suman said, put it raw and graphic, they need to stop the bullshit, right? They need to stop the bullshit, and we are going to address it as the misinform the public through the different platforms, right? With the radar, with all this sort of stuff. They had a senator saying that he was reading some statistics there, right? Saying that in 2024 they had the least amount of reduction of home invasions and all sorts of stuff. I don't know where he's getting that statistics from, right? He's probably disconnected or living in a bubble, So again, who are they to come and preach to the choir about crime, right? When they have failed, historically failed, and the numbers are in the facts, right? We didn't read that off any kind of gossip website or something. Those are facts that's going to stand there for decades to come. 624 homicides last year, right? And 2 years prior to that, 605, and that record was shattered also. So again,
one thing is in real life, whatever data, the data does not lie.
Correct, absolutely correct.
The data does not lie, it does not discriminate, and these type of things. So whenever, in fact, I will always try to push the notion that police should not be the one to analyze this data. It should be analyzed independently, because there's a reduction in crime. Yes, that's it. But what's the follow-up? That is what an analyst will do, to say, okay, it has become 40% less because of A, B, C, and D. Now, you policemen, you have to strengthen these A, B, C, and D for me, so the numbers will keep on coming down even more. That is what the analyst does. He makes the recommendations of the future actions to proceed with. Don't tell me the commissioner will go on screen or on TV and say, crime is 40% less. It stops there. Right there, it stops. You know, well, you have to make use of the data, yes, but you implement now proactive measures how you can make this reduction even more going forward. And this is the thing. So policemen, I mean, with all due respects, they will just look at the data. But analyzing the data to take corrective actions down the road is a specialized job. And has to be done by someone who is who knows
who's skilled,
data analytics and so on.
Exactly.
I'm not making a plug for myself, but I'm a data analytics guy. But I'm just letting you know, because I used to think the same way too. Just looking at the statistic shows a reduction, 40% and 46% reduction. So what do you do? What is the follow-up? Tell me. You tell me what is the follow-up. Can I see, well, most of the crime, that reduction is in this category, that category, or so. And then now the corrective measures is what we should be exploring now to ensure that the crime is even less going forward. You know, this is the thing. You analyze data objectively.
And it should help you measure your progress. So you know how to revise or vet your plan, right? Your strategic plan.
It's all based on numbers. Numbers, they are metrics.
Exactly.
Measure the numbers, you know, and their outcomes, key performance indicators, KPIs, and so. So you use this in tandem with the strategies, but see how you can amplify the outcomes to make the outcomes better, so that in future there will be even a greater reduction in crimes. So
that is correct.
I'm so glad to hear this guy, Roger Alexander, talking about the technology, but I think he was more speaking about the radar technology than anything else. But I don't know when they're going to start the technologies, the serious technology side, by linking the eye in the sky, the drones, having 24-hour surveillance. These are technology I like to see, linking it up to the ground stations, linking it up to the police on the ground with the Marine Coast Guards and so on. It has to be integrated. You know, I don't know, Ken, if you know, these things operate in Miami Beach. The guys in the air and in the ground and in the Marine, they all coordinated. So once they catch a car stolen, they tap you from the air along the coastline, intercoastal, right up. You know, so it's an air, sea, and land initiative.
Correct.
There's no escape from you. There is no escape from you.
Exactly.
You know, and this is the thing. So Roger Alexander, I mean, with the kudos, I must say, he spoke about, the radar is a sensitive issue, blah, blah, blah. It will help in the security, okay? The question was asked, well, then who gets that information? that information should go to a clearinghouse, and only senior officers will have access to it. That is the planners. The data guys will analyze the data and, bring forth the corrective measures. What's the next step? Okay, what's the next step from here? So you don't wait for something to happen. Then you begin to be acting. Some action.
Suman and Ken, the thing about it is, beside all the technology, is that we don't have the infrastructure and resource in place. We lack the right attitude and education and how really to deal with domestic situation like we saw there and in many circumstances. We're not dealing with the social issues that becomes a criminal issue. So it's so many things are ignored until it's totally explode. And we home culture, we don't practice preventative medicine. Most of us are really behind. I mean, we don't go to the doctor until you actually feel like you can't move when you're sick. But we don't do the preventative. I mean, culturally, it's something that, we had to learn, for us living here in the US. I mean, I wasn't going to the doctor for no reason at all. If I ain't sick, why I going to the doctor? I mean, you're sick. That was the attitude. You understand what I mean? And that is basically the culture. So, a lot of preventative things can be done to assist in preventing things. But a simple thing as a person going to the station to complain about domestic abuse or any kind of thing like that wasn't taken seriously. Far as I'm concerned, there should be social resources available so that when there's a complaint, there's a social worker and the Ministry of Social Development is involved, and there's a follow-up. They just don't be shoved to the side. So because these are the things that we lack and we need to put in place.
And these are the crimes of passion.
And women, just imagine a lot of women stay in abusive situation because they have nowhere to go. You understand?
So
and then they are shamed into leaving your husband, even though the man beating you, because you're gonna make the family shame. So take the licks and stay. But the silly thing about it is, we are supposed to provide resources to assist women because that's the culture we come from. That's where it is right now. We have a long way to go. Educating your daughters. And providing them the necessary resources to be independent. So the fact that they don't have to stay in a marriage because they can't support themselves, a lot of things we have to deal with.
Absolutely.
Correct. Yep.
You hit it on the head, Gary. So the question is, these so-called crimes of passion is not average policing. It has to be a separate unit that integrates social services.
But what I'm saying to you is, even though we have to work on all these educational things, we need that infrastructure and resource at the police station so that when certain things happen, they are instructed. They are instructed to refer these cases so that, immediately,
Yes. That's why I say.
Yep, that's correct.
This is more an exception rather than the rule. But the real criminal activities is what, the homicides, which not following family, this side, what we saw there, that's a separate issue. But the technology has been there more than 15, 20 years ago. When are we going to get there? If you think we have to somewhere bite the bullet.
So, man, I don't think we understand really how to use the technology. Some of us are, and we are so arrogant in some aspects and ignorant that this will take a while. This might take quite a bit to really to absorb it.
15, 20 years is that so these are simple basic things. You have an eye in the sky, you have a marine, and you have the land base. So there's no way you can get around this. The question is,
we have to have that mindset and propensity to want to fix this problem and use and embrace this technology. Look at this scanner in the port, right? Classic case. That was there to detect and scan for drugs and illicit items and guns and stuff. All of a sudden, the thing is down, right?
It's down.
Conveniently,
functioning.
a man back
Right?
into it.
Conveniently, correct.
See, this is the point, guys. It's conveniently done, and I keep on saying the same thing. All the systems are deliberately,
And nobody was
broken.
held accountable.
And nobody was held accountable, so that the P&M can do whatever they could without anyone being penalized.
Because they are part of the problem.
This is the
Right?
problem.
They are part of the
Systems
problem.
have
And look
to
at
be
society over the last 10 years, how it has deteriorated.
big time.
So tell me if I had to rate them from F to A, they're gonna get F minus.
But look how they take every good thing that was put in place. Look how they destroyed them. We have to start all over again. And I mean, we must ask Trinidad and Tobago if they want to be, if they value the things that were being put in place for them. I mean, yet we've seen people, very prominent, whether they say prominent, so-called prominent people, condemning the Prime Minister and attacking the Prime Minister viciously for trying to improve the security of our citizens, for trying to put the necessary resources, to trying to put the laws in place that you can legally defend yourself without being arrested when someone breaks into your house. I mean, where these people's minds are really at? I mean, they're exposing themselves.
Well, it's
They
just
are exposing
highlighted.
themselves.
Gary,
Because
just
they are also responsible
highlighted-
for the problem. They're also
You
part of the
highlight-
problem.
Gary, you
Yes, sir.
highlighted an incident recently. I mean, just how you showed it with Suniti Mirage, a classic case.
Yeah.
That was a classic. Has she been sleeping all these past years?
As you can see, the bodies are being taken away by undertakers. I'm so sorry, Dr.
How many
flowing on
times
the
we have
street.
seen this? How many
Blood
times
flowing on the street.
we have seen these things? Too many times. Too many times.
Blood flowing on the street, Gary. Without any stop. Without hemorrhaging.
No.
And these so-called journalists and influencers in the country working against a government and your prime minister in particular, who's trying to put all the necessary resources to prevent these things.
Maybe they're getting paid to push certain narratives, right? To undermine the government.
We have to provide resources. We have to provide alternatives for people to turn to. You cannot be in a helpless situation. Your country, your government is trying to put resources in place so that you are not in a helpless position. But we're going to take more time because there's severe damages to the economy. There's severe damages to the treasury, right? And we have to restructure things. As much as the Prime Minister wants to give you, and is in her best intention, she can't give it to you in the way that you may want it or you may need it. We have to build everything back all over again.
That is correct.
But I want to take a few minutes to congratulate a young lady here by the name of Sherry Devanarine, who won a medal for free dive representing Trinidad and Tobago. I'm hoping to have Sherry here. No, I'm sorry, not Sherry. Victoria Devanarine. My mistake. Victoria Devanarine. And I want to congratulate her. She is with the Minister of Sports. I see Captain Singh joining us here. Welcome, Captain Singh. So I want to congratulate her on her hard work, and I'm hoping to have her here someday soon to interview Victoria Devanarine.
Excellent job there. It's always a big plus when you put Trinidad and Tobago on the map, yeah?
Yeah, so when our young people doing good things, we have to...
Excellent, yeah, we have to encourage them.
Acknowledge them, give them the support.
And also give them a voice, Gary. let's hear
So
their thoughts.
I am waiting on them to give them an opportunity to come on the program.
Nice. Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, that is well done. Well done, TNT. You know, Miss Victoria Dinarine. Excellent job. Congratulations.
Anything late besides the crime situation to?
Well, Captain Singh is on board, and we wanted to discuss some more elaborate crime prevention strategies. I don't know if you're getting some problem with the mic there. Captain Singh, you can hear me?
And I would like to congratulate another young lady who just won Miss Trinidad and Tobago. Here she is.
A brilliant mind with beauty to match as Miss Arima Georgia Lee Gill is officially crowned Miss World Trinidad and Tobago 2025. When the 2025 Miss World TT finalists took to the stage at the Southern Academy of the Performing Arts SAPA last evening, it was Georgia Lee Gill, a biochemist with a bachelor's degree in biology and biochemistry, who stood out with poise, intelligence, and a passion for community service. Georgia Lee's victory means that she will carry the red, white, and black onto the global stage at the Miss World pageant in 2026. And while the official host country for the 2026 competition is still to be confirmed, Botswana has emerged as the frontrunner. The Southern African nation is actively bidding to host the event in its capital. Georgia Lee Gill now steps onto the world stage to represent Trinidad and Tobago. Congratulations to our new Miss World TNT.
That's right. Making Arima very proud and all of TNT.
Exactly.
There's definitely a lot of stuff in the boat. Looks like he might be dumping some more stuff here. Yep, one.
So Captain Singh, take a look at this video for a second.
0922 07947. Copy.
Over 30 now.
How many objects? Okay, it's about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
A very hard-working fisherman is busy fishing over there.
11, 12. 13, 14, don't stand by.
Making a very honest living. Working hard at sea.
This guy's going to beach here pretty soon, I think. He's in a narrow stream here.
Is somebody keying the SATCOM?
And Bulldog from Victory, where county package is being thrown off. Stand by one. Yes, John, I was, so that I didn't have to hear him.
Oh. Another large object at 0921 07948. And he's changing course. Looks like he's coming back now. So 2 more packages, 15, 16? Yep. And those were larger, I don't know, those made a larger splash than the other ones.
Captain Singh, welcome back to Yellow Code and UNCUS, sir.
Yes, good night.
Good night, Captain Singh.
Hi, Ken. I was listening to the video that Gary just played. It reminded me of some operations we had done in Nangaha province, where there were a mountainous area where they were cooking heroin. That heroin was being pushed north to Europe and into Russia. A lot of it was going up into Germany and those places, and then eventually would reach to England and those places, the heroin. So the imagery that you see, the technology that the United States would bring, they are experts in each one of their fields. So with eyes on the target, they're able to identify what the package is. Using various wavelengths, they can tell the substance that's in those packages. That will be run by an S3 operations officer, and he would have to convey that to his colonel, or he can make the decision whether or not to strike the target. Now, we've had myself. We were in a situation where we had to make a determination, and we're not 100% sure what it was that was given the heat signature from the imagery. So we had to send people in to take an eye on the object. In this case here, you can definitely tell that is some type of drugs that they're trying to offload into the ocean as they flee. So the United States operations order from the commander-in-chief is that they should be destroyed and not to be stopped and arrested. With that in mind, listening to the news, there's a couple people from the opposition and quite a number of media is pushing that narrative that this raider, the military, could be a target for the Venezuelans in Tobago and Scarborough. As we saw that an individual was kidnapped in Monos Island, a grenade is being held in one hand and some sort of assault rifle to his head and his wife. And they're asking for $2.5 million. How easy is it for a small craft to travel from, let's say, any part of the island or across from Venezuela and kidnap these individuals and take them across? Yet, for some strange reason, the opposition wants the crime to continue because they all against this one simple radar that's being operated by the United States in Scarborough. But all the air assets that's out there, these criminals, this gang, was brazen enough to go ahead and make this abduction of this gentleman and his wife and demand a ransom. Now, our police department, the commissioner of police, he has spent a lot of resources and time attempting to recover this person alive. And this kidnapping trend has continued for quite some time. Now we see them moving more into the west end of Trinidad and Tobago. Well, this only qualifies the need for other surveillance type equipment with the aid of the United States, whether it's drones that's been flown with a 72-hour loitering time with recording, and that being passed on to the local law enforcement to act on those criminals. So I only see that this kidnapping only justifies more of the United States being in the southern hemisphere, because this gang is just one small arm of the bigger octopus that we can tell. For too long in the last decade under the last government, they allowed this to happen, and I suspect that a lot of people were the recipient of large sums of money to allow this to continue, because it's not only incompetence, which I suspect it is part of the problem, but I think it's also looking the other way. This has been festering time, and nothing has been done in this large show of force by the United States and Trinidad and Tobago taking a stand with a prime minister who's strong enough to stand and say, "Oh, we will support the fight against drugs and terrorism." Now, this is an incursion by a foreign group of people. So these are actual. I would term them as terrorists entering a sovereign nation and taking two citizens by force, and wherever they're at, most likely crossing the other side. So I think that now that we don't have to spend a lot of money on getting those naval vessels that we have parked up, because we do have, right now, we have the United States providing that naval force and the air support. I think what we need to do is set up a series of roadblocks, like in 1997 in South Korea. Now, we'd have the North Koreans tunneling under the DMZ, the demilitarized zones. And we also had in 97, roughly around October month, where two submarines, like what you see the drug smugglers were using just on the surface of the water, those type of submarines. So it's a one-man sub or a two-man sub, and they would get into Seoul and blend in with the people. So what happened over there? You would have checkpoints, and these checkpoints are manned by soldiers and police, and they, they're doing their jobs, and and citizens comply with it because they understand the dangers of terrorist person infiltrating their country. So at various checkpoints, you would have these booths, and they're not sitting in the booths; they're actually outside, and they're monitoring who's passing by, and they can stop and search. So that's one method I remember quite distinctly in 1998 in South Korea, and this was in Camp Gary Owens up in the north, Munsan, which is just on the border of the North South Korea. Another good example of law enforcement is every transient person that's renting an apartment. So what criminals do, they move from one hotspot and they go hide in another place and they rent. Now, if you have money, they can simply conduct their crime and pay the rent. Well, you have to register online in Vietnam. I was just in Vietnam 5 months, and you have to register online. Now, that is to protect foreigners like myself. If I'm there, something would have happened, they know exactly where I'm staying and who is my contacts. Now, with criminals, if you are doing something and you go into an apartment, let's say in Caroni, nobody knows who you are. You're a good person. You pay your rent and you go about your business. Well, if you have some kind of pending criminal, you have to go to court or anything like that, this would show up. So it's a database that they have, simple database, and the landlord must have that person's information inputted into the system. Or then the police can come in and they can do a check and welfare on that building and that area. So it prevents criminals from moving across the islands or undocumented people from entering Trinidad and Tobago and finding a safe haven somewhere. So I suspect that might be another thing to look at. In Vietnam, there's total sense of safety over there. There's no fear of crime. There's no gun crime. I looked at news for the 5 months I was there. There was no gun crime. You did have some crimes, but it was crimes of passions and stuff like that, but no gun crimes. So I think we got to look at all the best technology and systems and incorporate those and put it into a system and make it a system that will work for Trinidad and Tobago, because Trinidad and Tobago is a high crime country, and if it's to move into the next 5 years or the next 10 years and improve in a global sense, crime has to be eradicated. And I think that the Prime Minister would have advisors and should be taking the best from everyone that's willing to help and give her an input on how to go about crime fight. Ken, Gary, any questions?
Captain Singh, you mentioned North Korea. Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah.
Somebody's mic is giving a lot of static. Check your mics, guy. Check your mics.
Mine's okay.
Yeah, you can hear me now? You mentioned South Korea, and I want to believe you spoke about having checkpoints or controlling the nodes in the transportation network infrastructure.
Yes.
Where you can easily shut down a node.
Yes.
If something is occurring there in a certain specific area.
Yes.
You want to elaborate a little more and maybe talk about how that could help us in Trinidad.
Yeah. So what happens in Trinidad? There's no. You have a static patrol, 2 man in a car. They sit on my place in St. Helena, and they move from there to Caroni, and then from my point to the Las Mus police station, you may have a car every now and then. So what the criminal will do, they know when this car is moving, and that's if it's on a continuous basis. Now, it's a high avenue exit and entry in that area. So you have roads coming from the St. Helena bypass. You have the bypass to the old bridge. Then you can get into Central through the back way. You can go to Lastimus. You can go down the Warren Road. You can cut off to the highway. So it's a tentacle going all over the place. So if you have checkpoints, what criminals tend to do, they will avoid that. So there's a number of places that they tend to dump bodies in central areas, which is a known area. So if you have checkpoints set up in such a way that this is, and mind you, this is right next to the airport, you'll have criminals moving a particular way. So if they're moving a particular way, and you have a checkpoint, and you see the car is totally, it has a number of male occupants in there, and you might want to ask them to put the windows down and take a look in there. So you're looking in there, and you know, if they're up to something, they may have guns, they may have marijuana, they may have something that would give you cause to pull them over and check their cars. So checkpoints, static full checkpoints is good because you have the criminals seeing people there with armed, and it's set up in such a way that you can't run the checkpoints. So you must slow down at this point. Now, if they run the checkpoints in South Korea, obviously the use of force is part of the SOP. But in a civilian sense, you may not want to do that. You may want to you pursue them, and then if they resist and they don't pull over, then you may want to use some tactic of getting them to stop. So that is something I would like to see, actual checkpoints and continuous, because with the state of emergency, this should be part of a state of emergency where you have active checkpoints, because what you see in right now is a lot of petty crimes happening all over. A lot of people are still going about committing crimes, and I think it would be more of a deterrence if people would actually see that there's police officers in particular areas, and you can channel the traffic and the criminals to where you want to actually stop them and search. So if you're doing a search on the Churchill Roosevelt Highway somewhere, and the whole highway shut down, and there's a bypass, obviously you know there's a bypass, so you also want to have people at that point to go ahead and see if people divert around the main checkpoint. So that is holes I've seen in front of that. You might be having an operation somewhere, but there's another exit point for the criminals to go about. And if you have drugs in there, if you have drug dogs on there, they can sniff around the car and they'll be able to tell you what's in there. So I think the police department, I think the commissioner down there, I think he would be well aware of these type of ideas and may want to implement some of them. Yeah.
Well, in the patrolling strategy is something that lacks, far as I'm concerned about. I mean, we have watched. I mean, I've seen like back in 2010 when we won government. I was around the Monrepo roundabout there, and I saw. I mean, it must have been about 25 police or more. And the way they were just standing around there, like they were just, lying, unconcerned of why they were supposed to be there, and not really strategically organized to intercept. They were just hanging out there with their machine gun.
So, I think in 2010, hopefully, now with this new commissioner of police, and you see you have more of a national security push with the United States being there, and I think they would be getting some kind of guidance. And I think the tactics that is known by international law enforcement, I think a lot of the police officers should be trained now who are in charge, and I think. Hopefully we.
Boy, I really don't know what they're going to do with the training, and I have serious question about their supervising officer, the senior officers managing the team. How they, if you watch, I mean, you guys go back and forth. You you watch how they are conducting themselves on even on a simple roadblock. You know, how they are organized, and it is not really function in the way that they should. These criminals are too much of an easy getaway. All of that has to do with our deterrent strategy. We need to work more on deterrent than detection. I know we need to work on detection, but the preventative part is what we need to work on.
Gary, if I may say something, exactly what Captain Singh mentioned is exactly how the algorithms and machine learning goes. And this is why I say technology at a very basic level has to be in part of the process. Just talking about it ain't going to make any dent in anything. You have to have persons trained to use the technology, identifying the hotspots, identify the escape routes, exactly as you're saying, the bypasses. If you're doing, let's say, a check on the Churchill Roosevelt High, because there are so many getaway points, and you need to have
But I have serious concern about the person in charge, guys. The person in charge of the operation. Where is his mind at?
I'm going to get that as well, because sometimes, you know, the criminals know ahead of time where the checkpoints are. You know, so somebody is feeding the criminals information from the inside of the police service.
Well, that too. We have people helping destroy evidence. We have had a long history of that.
No, they will tell you, hey guys, we're running our operation at 11 o'clock Sunday night. So don't be around the vicinity. How is that going to help the service when the criminals know beforehand that they're going to do a roadblock check in that so-and-so area? So see, all these things has to be done to eliminate certain what they call pain points. And the pain points are the escape routes. So if that is not plugged, you just, these roadblocks are just, you know, PR exercises to say, to tell the press, the media, and so on, tell the government, oh, we did X amount of roadblocks in Ryson Road, X amount, Y amount in Churchill Roosevelt, T amount in the Southern Main Road. Yeah, but what is the outcomes of all of this? They catch what? 5 persons without driving permits, driving in the night with broken lights. These things touch the lower end of crime prevention. You want to be more dynamic to really hold things, hold persons, the so-called serious crime. Not the, you know, hey, your brakes light ain't working. No, not those type of crimes I'm talking about.
You could use that as a justified reason to stop the car, but you're really after something more serious than that. But the fact that is, they have an attitude, but you can't advise them. Them know it, and you can't tell them, you know, and they are protected by their the arrogance is protected within the system. They're the untouchables. You know, you can't correct them. They could victimize you if you say anything. So this kind of thing, nonsense has to stop. We need government to address a restructuring.
Absolutely.
A restructuring how this whole thing operates, because it will defeat the purpose. We will not get anywhere if we don't have a complete restructuring how the TTPS operates.
Gary, I like that. One is DNA testing or DNA collection. I don't know if there is a DNA database set up by the government.
It was proposed as 2013 or 2014, but it never came into fruition.
Right. So that DNA testing, it's important that you have database with criminals on there, because a lot of times criminals move around and they do leave their DNA all over the place. So a lot of times you see that you have crimes where someone is raped, but they never talk about doing a rape kit and running for DNA because there's no database. And then it goes to the if it goes to court and well, how do you prove that that was personal? The victim now has to relive this whole thing again. That's one. And two, one system we had used is something called BATS and HIDE. This is a camera system where we would take pictures of the face, the irises of people, and also the air look. And that would go into a database, and that would be accessible for 5 countries, 5 allied countries. I'm not going to name who they are, but so basically, any one of those 5 countries can pull onto the system and look at an individual who would have been stopped and questioned for or committed a crime. So this person, if he's moved to a different location, and his name, he changes his name. If you get a picture of him, it automatically comes to the right person who it is and what he had done before previously. So those are 2 things I would like to see. And also, I'm on a couple groups on WhatsApp, and the guys, they will tell you where the roadblocks are. So if the police knows that civilians are given out on these chat groups where roadblocks are, where operations are happening, well, they need to be monitoring these groups. So that's where the human intelligence come in. So they have to have a signal intelligence, which is the radar in Tobago. That's one asset. They got to have human intelligence. If you want to know where drugs is, you simply find a piper and you give him a $100 bill, and he will go straight like a bee, straight to find the source of it. So why are you waiting to find drugs in a being transported in a car, and you have to set up elaborate roadblock? The drug blocks, they're sitting right there. The police know that it is. In Trinidad and Tobago, you can see a fortified house, and the way it's built, and the way the irons and the gate and the razor wires set up, and you have a little entry. You just monitor it. I mean, and that's where the human intelligence come in.
Absolutely.
So I don't know why they're not using. You always talk about we need to spend X amount of millions of dollars on this and that, but if you simply use human intelligence, you'll be able to get a lot of information, and you'll be able to act on that. Another thing we did in Afghanistan, we would put weapons out, and these weapons were left to be found, and we'd have people, soldiers watching, who comes and get it, and mind you, I'm not gonna say much about what happens with it after that, but leaving stuff for people to find, and giving it out to the lowest criminal person, you'll see how quick that information goes all over here. There's something here to be found, and they go get it. So I've never seen any operations where that happens. You always hear the police officer find a huge amount of marijuana somewhere, so they go ahead and they confiscate it, and they take it back to the police station, take pictures of it, but no one's ever been held. Well, I'm sure if you leave it right there, somebody will come eventually looking for it, so you can get some information who is really the big people that's involved in it. But I don't know. I think we have a new police commissioner, so I think he would know better, and he may want to try something.
I'm not sure about that. Anyway, if I may say something, Captain Singh mentioned one important thing which is used extensively in the technology, the AI technology. That is the iris of the eye. They do iterations like about several millions, approaching billions of analysis.
I'll check your mic. Somehow we get some static.
From my one guy.
There's a kind of scratchy noise that was coming in.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Suman.
You hearing me okay? Mine's
I hear you okay.
Yeah, we hear you okay now. Go ahead.
The iris of the eye is the core of the process of something called machine learning algorithm. And that algorithm picks up, after scanning millions, perhaps billions of specks, or that's that one iris. So the level of probability of you hitting the jackpot is like 99.99. And if you see that same person's iris recurring time and time again, right? All is left for you is to go and just find the person and lock him up. Because once the iris matches him, it's like your DNA, like your fingerprint. All these things, we are still at the fingerprinting stage. And if you don't have, if you're in a crime scene, and after 24 hours, the fingerprinting stuff is gone. So, we operating at that level. We can't even get the DNA legislation to be passed, to be implemented. The forensic system, the same. So when the heck are we going to use the technology which is available more than 20 years ago to try and solve these crimes? This is nothing new. If something is 20 years old, is pretty old. So we are, in fighting crime, we like 25, 30, 40 years behind. And all the policemen, I would say most of the policemen in the majority, are not trained in these new systems of tracking and identifying and solving crimes. If you're going to depend on fingerprinting and you have no DNA samples and so on, you're spinning top on mud. Like you and I been solving crime. Where are the experts who have been trained in the systems to solve it? Are they sitting just pushing paper along like the rest of them? You have to be on the ground, my man. Again, it comes down to data, like everything else in life. Data on the eyes. The iris of the eye is like the fingerprint of the human body, like the DNA. So, there are several methodologies you can use to be part of the process to aid you in solving crime or fighting crime. But if you say we aren't there yet, well, in another 20 years might come and we're still not there yet.
Yeah. Question. Now, the iris of the eyes, and also with facial recognition.
Yes, but that's the next step. That's how they identify you. First, they do the iris of the eye, then they do the profile of the face. So they use what's called computer vision. All they have to see is the back of your ear, one little speck of the back of your ear or the head, or from the iris it can come up to the entire eye. But even they see the back, a little piece of the back of one ear, they can recreate the whole face using computer vision. And that is where the strength of this technology lies.
Please check your mic. When you're moving around, you're getting a scratchy kind of whatever device you're using. I don't know. Suman, what do you use, laptop or phone?
No, I use my laptop.
Yeah, somehow when you're moving around, you're causing a scratchy, if you know what you're touching.
Maybe I was touching my ear to show you just behind the ear. Once they can see that, they can recreate the entire face using facial recognition. So you see, again, technology is there. And if you're not training guys to fight crime technologically, when are we going to start? Because right now, when they started using old technology, as I said, 20 years ago, technology. So when are we going to catch up with modern crime fighting?
And that's an excellent point, Samad. But first, I think we have to set the base. Because if you have police officers who are corrupt in the system, who are leaking the information, who are modifying the evidence, right? Then we're twice defeated.
Absolutely.
So COP, as we mentioned previously, has to now pull up his sleeves and address the issues revolving around the corrupt part of the police
Well,
force.
he needs a team. I tell the truth, we have to revamp that administrative team because they sat there and they allowed the whole thing to fester in the direction it is there. So we are promoting the people who are part of the problem and will not be part of the solution. Okay.
No, you see, we can move it independently. You can do this independently. Like as you if you're going to have a DNA lab, you only have accessibility as a police officer to a few police officers or very limited persons. So the same goes for DNA and what have you on iris systems and what you cannot have.
We are so far behind. There was a lack of interest in really pushing it. I mean, all the help that the United States stood by us and to give us, we never really, really capitalized on all this help. I mean, now we have the Prime Minister showing an interest in it. Hopefully that we get a little bit advanced in what we're trying to do. But I want to see before we get. I want to see the basics done, man. The basics done with patrolling and deterrence and response. I mean, all the technological things. If we can't even manage the basics.
That's the point. That is the point. Now, Ken, Gary, and Captain will realize that someone commits a crime in Virginia, and within 48 hours you catch them in California. Right?
Yeah.
In Trinidad, which is 1,800 square miles, like a state in like Queens or the Bronx, or that size, with far less people, only 1.4 million people, and you cannot catch the person here. You have to be damn backward. You live in a super backward state, right? Because imagine living in the US, you're traveling hundreds and thousands of miles, commit a crime here within 48 to 60 hours, they find you right away. Sometimes more often than not, less time than that.
Technology, so the technology.
So you see, this is the point, that question we keep on asking, when are we going to get there? But we're not even starting, so how can we get there? And when you get there, you're like 20, 30, 40 years behind the curve. But that's okay. You have a starting point. As you were saying,
you guys see some of the dinosaur-looking ancient prehistoric equipment that PNM got to with the camera system, and then they couldn't. Most of it they didn't care to keep it working. But more talk and arrogance that you get for the last 10 years.
Yes. So, Gary, the point comes back to the same thing. You cannot weed out the elements in the police service because some of them are covered by their superiors. I don't know if you know what Giuliani did to the New York police service, or he got rid of a lot of them. Now, he was an invited guest there to the police service under Captain Griffith when he was there. They paid him some big bucks to come down. I think it was $4 to $5 million to come and deliver this speech here.
That was Jack Warner people and everything.
Yep. I know. And what are you going to tell these cops, these police officers, to fight crime along these lines? You never hear nothing come out of it. Because you have the same
there's no matter anybody you bring there, when they turn the back, everything goes back to normal.
Everything goes back to haywire. Correct. Yeah. That's the point. So we're not lifting off. That is my point. We're not lifting off. We're still static. Lift off. You're not even in the taxiway taxiing in the plane.
You have to keep our government there in order to make any real success, and we have to be, not just a one-term government there in order to really make that accomplishment. Because by the time you really get set, everything that you said, they're gone out the window, thrown in the garbage, and be back to square one.
Right.
So
and the same guys The same guys remain, you know. The same guys remain, and we have inherited this.
We need some.
inherited
We need structural change. We need structural change.
Oh,
structural
absolutely.
change,
Absolutely.
systematic change, and unless that is done, we'll be fighting crime in the 19th century.
So we're behind the curve.
Way behind the curve. We ain't throw the ball yet, Ken. We ain't throw the ball yet.
But
So when we talk about the technology, as we saw it in the video just now, they didn't even mention what technology. Technology. Is it blimp they're using? Is it these drones they're going to
No,
use?
listen. Suman, they can't do that. They can't mention what they're using. They really can't do that. All right. I mean, because we get you have to understand, Captain Singh will understand the level of technology that the US is utilizing, but we cannot bring all that information in the public domain.
For police servicing, I don't think so. I think you could, as a police service, we can say we have an eye in the sky, we have a ground operations in Sieges, we have
No.
one.
I wouldn't encourage that. I wouldn't encourage that.
Because it's going to be the same thing like the Scarborough radar.
Yeah, but okay. So what I'm saying to you is we cannot disclose all these things at the same because there's a lot of things are being formulated, a lot of things are being utilized, and the US will give us. Remember, a lot of the technology being utilized will and intelligence provided would not even be within Trinidad. You know, it would be on them ships there.
I understand
Right?
that the decision making is not done here.
No, but what I'm saying, the technology involved that the minister is referring to does not have to be physically on the ground in Trinidad. It could be on air, on them ships. Them ship is close enough, within range, to monitor a lot of things.
Boy, it's flying by me 5, 6, 7, or 8 of them every day overhead here. So the whole southern coast, western and southern coast. You see that if I look out my window, I'm seeing a couple of them.
Well, that's great news. That is excellent news.
I've been our guys
we got a few. If we got a few of these Bapti Mamsels flying around, that's excellent. I love that.
But the thing is, Gary, you don't see them. They're like night hawks and so on, you know.
Well,
no lights on. No lights on. You only see the big C-30, C-130, and the Globetrotters, and these ones you see. These are the big, massive military aircraft. These Nighthawks, and then you don't see those at all.
Those airplanes think in a particular way that.
Yep. No, there's no profiling on them. You don't know.
I was going to add one more thing with prison.
Alvin, check your mic. Yeah.
Right.
No, not here. You got to talk. Not hearing you, Alvin. Not hearing you. I think it's your mic that was really giving trouble there. That's right. Yeah. Getting a lot of static. I don't know what's going on. Yeah.
He's probably going to come back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
But yes, but we're behind the curve.
Boy, if we're behind the curve, we ain't thrown the ball yet.
The COP has a lot of work to do, right? Versus
these guys have to be aware of where they're heading, where we're heading as a nation.
I strongly believe that the U.S. presidents can keep them in check.
Yes, that is a plus. But I hope some of them get trained, and the government passes legislation to make sure these things happen.
Training is one thing. Keeping things in line after the training is done is the next thing. You know,
legislation too. Legislation.
Yeah, I mean the U.S. Southern Command has been training our people for a long time. What do we do with the training is another thing. Alvin, you want to test your mic now? See if you can. Still not good.
Ask him to come back, jump out and come back in and see.
I don't know what's going on. Are you using a laptop or phone? I'm not sure what you're using there. Not hearing you. Not hearing you at all.
Is this better now?
No, that's
Yeah,
not
can you hear me
hearing you
now?
there. No. Yeah.
Oh. You're not hearing me at all? No.
I'm hearing you.
Yeah,
Can you hear
I'm
me?
hearing you now.
Oh.
I'm hearing you now. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So I was saying in prisons, what you have is a big thing about these illegal cell phones. And that's not a bad thing at all. One particular operations we did, we cloned everybody's phone. So the police and the intelligence department, they need to control what goes in and what comes out. So allowing cell phones to go in and having a clone to in and monitoring what's going out is a good thing. There's a lot of information that could be gotten from prisoners. You'll be surprised that a prisoner knows more that's what's happening outside than the actual police chief in Port of Spain headquarters. And cloning phones is old technology. You know, these guys are going to pay a premium to get the phones in there, and that phone's a clone phone. Whenever he calls out, you have somebody 24 hours monitoring what the conversation is about. And I'm surprised no one has thought to do this. So, Mark, you being the tech guy.
But no, but you see, the thing is that these things have to be driven by the top, from the ministers, the COP, superintendents. They have to be aware of these things, and only then can it filter down to the rest of the service or the population at large. If these guys are not au courant and with what is happening or what are new trends, and as you correctly said, this has been going on way back since the 90s, since cell phones became popular. Cloning phones is normal.
Yes,
that's normal.
So,
and the tracking, we use that in elections. By the way, they clone phones in election, and so in 2010. By the way, I didn't want to get into that, but in 2010.
Oh well, I'm only speaking about the law enforcement part, right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying this is something that I was part of, where I'm entertaining a whole group of people, and they can't go into the secure meeting, so it's left outside. And when the meeting is completed, they give them back their devices, and whenever they call, whoever they call, we have, if it's 100 people, we have the information where it's going to after we had this little get together. So I'm saying in prisons, the guy really wants something in there, and it comes in. It's controlled. Everything has to be controlled. You can't have, and even if you have a corrupt officer, it's perfect. He would be the guy that you would really
That's right.
Watch and allow him to do so it becomes legit. So there's a lot of operations that have to be happening, and this is low tech, low cost. We always talk about the high cost and the grand scheme of things.
Low-cost ways of doing these things, and you get tremendous results, because listen how they do it in the advanced countries: Hong Kong, Singapore, especially Singapore. They don't go and arrest you right away when they catch you. They wait for your calls to go to when you conduct the entire ring.
Yes.
When you contact, then they move in and they clean up the whole cycle, the whole set of them one shot. And that's how you do it. So it's good to have bad officers, because you will know who the bad officer, you'll know how the other bad officers operate as well. You know what car they drive, where they go on, your destination, how many people involved, all these things, data you will gather. So, and it costs you little, next to nothing, to clone a phone or to track a tracking device on a vehicle and all these sort of things. With GPS, modern technology now, you can catch
them. Even if you're jamming phones in the prison, you have it. You want to do that. Well, it's done for a particular time, so you control the time when the system is down. supposedly, and this is when the high volumes come out. So whatever they had to do, they'll do it in this short period of time. And all of these methods are crime fighting methods. And I know a lot of these police officers. You hear they get master's degree and it's from some university in London, but I don't think anybody been over there to study. So it's probably an online degree. It's padded up on their resume, and they get promoted. But to get actual experience in the field, it's a very hard thing. So
that's correct.
Then sometimes again, these people are stymied by senior officers. And when you come back from training, if you go overseas on training and you come back, your senior officer looks upon you as what we call katai. This guy has been trained now. He might be after my position, so I'll do whatever I can to keep him down there. This kind of way. There's no way to circumvent the system. If you're a junior officer, in other words, you'll remain a junior officer all those years.
Let's hope that the Prime Minister, let's hope the Prime Minister is listening to this, and other people who are proactive people, and they may want to embrace some of these ideas and implement it in a systematic approach to reducing crime.
Correct.
Yeah, you need to have that political will to start with, and the persons above you, the senior officers, have to be driving the process. They have to be aware of the process firstly, and how they can benefit, how the country will benefit by implementing these systems. All of them are not technology related. Some are very, very low cost methods of finding out the information. And once you can find out the information, you can act on it. Otherwise, if you're going to do policing the way we've been doing it over the past years, 5, 10, 20 years, with the same officers who have 5, 10, 20 years experience, and they have not been able to make a dent on the crime. And look here, in a couple of months since this government came into power, with the state of emergency, with the U.S. Southern Command, we see a sharp reduction in the criminal activity. So that means something is happening. I agree with it. Something is happening. Let's say the Southern Command decides to go back to Puerto Rico now and leave you hanging in the air. Have we learned anything? Or are we going to see a re-escalation of how it was before? And that's the biggest question in my mind.
And that's very important, because we need to obviously have some guidance, some sort of knowledge from this whole operation.
Correct.
And see how we can implement it or gain ideas to use to continue
when
the
someone
fight.
left, when your bosses are no longer here, how fast are we learning, and how willing are they to teach us?
And where we need to allocate resources.
Yep.
The reallocation of resources is important, in order to drive the effort.
The U.S. Command came and established radar in Scarborough at Crown Point Airport overnight. Do you know how long it takes us administratively to get an airport radar in Trinidad? Nothing less than 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
Nothing less, because you have to go through for tender, you have to get more than 3 or 4 or 5 codes, you have to analyze the codes and so on and so on, and the whole process. When it reaches the PS, they say, no, it shoots down because somebody queried this and that. And it's a to and fro. So the process of implementing a new radar, it will take a long time. And this is the drawback with all these systems. We don't have the systems in place. Hey, as we say, they have, some of the vehicles in Pimcott just need an oil change. it has to go through the same administrative process. That's why it will take you a month or two to get an oil change if you drive in a police vehicle. And it's according to what they're saying at PIMCOT, who is, repairing these vehicles. Simple things like that takes a long time administratively. So for me, I buy the damn oil change and filter in my pocket and change it myself and I get to have, a vehicle going on. So this is the process. The processes have to be changed. And these things have been allowed to break down to such an extent in Trinidad and Tobago that the population already didn't know and they already don't care. You know how many times you call the cops and say, no vehicle? So that's like a standard response. The people have gotten accustomed to that. The same with an ambulance. Hey, we don't have an ambulance yet. One should be on the way. You don't hear anything about that again. These things, nobody monitors, checks, rechecks, give the information and so on. It's a total breakdown of all these systems and protocols. So I always maintain one thing. The PNM government deliberately broke these systems so no one will be held accountable. Once no one is held accountable, you cannot punish anyone, including the ministers, because the ministers are covered by the public servants. And since you cannot hold or touch any of the public servants, you thief or you do whatever you have to do and get away scot-free. So you see, all these systems have to be changed, re-engineered to make it foolproof and ensure that the legislation is enacted to back these things up. Can you remember I told you a couple of weeks ago that we should punish law officers twice as much as the regular persons? And
yes, you did mention that.
Seize their benefits, your pensions and gratuity, and you see how quickly you see a sudden change. If found guilty, no more pension gratuity, that's the end of you. So imagine I've worked 25 years and I have another 5 years. I'm not taking any sort of chances with my work to disrupt my pension or gratuity going forward. I ain't doing nothing illegal.
Of course, definitely. You don't want to run that risk.
You don't want to run that risk. So that risk assessment becomes part of it. So who are the ones who will do the crime? It will be down the guy with 1 or 2 or 3 years experience who are, in the police service, the younger guy. So that becomes a monitoring side of it now. You can monitor the younger guys because they kind of really don't care yet. They have not reached 25 years service for that pension or gratuity to impact on them. You see? So right away, you have identified the people who you're going to monitor closely.
Yeah, yep.
If there's a problem in the force.
Gentlemen, we need a system in place that, the Calypso who will guard the guard. Well, we need a system to guard the guard.
And I think we spoke about something like that in form of internal affairs, but the police service. An independent group.
Correct. Absolutely.
Comprised of various people, maybe some foreigners also, with law enforcement experience retired.
Yeah, I was suggesting that some years ago, but it has to be an international team, where you could pick people from, UK, US, Canada, sort of thing, and build a complete team there.
And locals as well. So they can be trained and learn how to...
Like I said, you could train in as much as training you can get, but the thing about it, if you are associating with your partners in action, it defeats the purpose. So yes, you do have to have locals, but it still has to be.
But you see, when these foreigners come, then they will set up the systems in place. They will know where the pain points are, as they say, where you can do things and get away. And once you have control systems there, you by yourself could be how smart as a local. Everything is time stamped and who gave the orders and blah blah blah. So these foreigners who are in law enforcement, they are sharp guys. They are smart. They are smart. So they can rejig the whole systems and put in place, so something much more foolproof. But right now, if I'm a senior officer, I'm his friend, cousin, brother, I can do favors for him. I can get away with anything. I can get away with anything. So how do you guard the guards? That was Gary's question. And this is the way you do it. At every point, juncture. And you see, no one is held responsible. That's why I say the legislation is an important part of it. Once I know my gratuity and pension is going to be, I ain't going to get anything after all these years service. I'm not going to jeopardize that. I ain't taking no risk.
Certainly. It creates a deterrent.
Yes.
Captain Singh, you want to take a stab at the question? How do you police the police? In other words, a system like the internal affairs which we have here, investigate law enforcement. What could we implement in Trinidad to police the police, so to speak?
Well, one thing Samad said is deterrence. Deterrence theory. The punishment outweighs the reward. If one thing is you need to start like here in the U.S., if someone commits a crime and the police officer against a civilian, they are fired. They're fired, and that's the end of them. But in Trinidad, they have to they put on leave with pay. That's one thing. I think there is some sort of entity that do investigation. It's called the something Bureau of Standards, if I remember right.
No.
Yeah, there's the Bureau of Standards.
No. There's something in the police department.
Trinidad, yeah, they have a Bureau of Standards in Trinidad.
No, Gary, but that measures consumer goods. The one
not that I'm talking about.
No, in Trinidad, they have a
police complaints authority.
No, that's something different.
Police complaint.
Yeah, they have a police complaint, but the Bureau of Standards does the investigation too with the police.
No, there's something with something like that says.
Someone's getting confused, but it is.
Yeah, there is something that they have, some entity they have where
Professional Bureau of Standards or something like that.
Yeah, Professional Bureau of Standards, yeah. So if a police officer...
Professional Bureau, correct. That is it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, yeah. So I don't know how effective that is. Because you had a case where some officers were shot at in Moruga somewhere. And,
5 of them.
Something happened. I think the case was dropped. So we've never seen anybody really charged. So I think I think a new system like what you have over here in Internal Affairs to investigate, and maybe it needs to be from an independent source. Other than someone inside.
We also have Internal Affairs, and then we have the FBI too, to deal with those kind of things too,
Yes.
So,
you remember when
with a lot of checks and balances.
Right. You remember there was a veteran that got murdered somewhere in Arangwes, and his body.
Arangwes, yes.
Right.
Yeah, Arangwes. I was living there.
The FBI was able to go to Trinidad and capture everybody. And took them to the States and put them in jail for a period of time. So I'm saying that that maybe one thing is to get an independent body of people, and it has to be from the outside. So if it could be done for that one soldier, I think it could be done for a lot of other things. Now that we have the U.S. involved with the government of Trinidad and Tobago. So I think now we have a favorable type of relationship. I think something like this could materialize. I think if it's proposed in the right way, because we see internally the guards are not guarding anything. We have drugs disappearing, and they say, well, it settles after a while. Drugs settle. We have police bullets. I think they're 5.56 rounds. I think that's what they are. Being found at certain murder sites, and I think there's quite a number of rounds that was missing for a bit there, and no one has accounted for it. So I think accountability with the prisons and the police department is quite lacking there. So I know the commissioner and the prime minister and the national security arms, they have their hands filled, and I think they can reach out now that we have a lot more United States involvement, and maybe a team could be set up in some way within the law, and might be able to aid the police department. Again, I think
Definitely,
that's
definitely,
what my
and we
thoughts
spoke
are going
about
with
it.
it.
No, definitely, and well said, and we suggested something. Gary and I mentioned, and Nick Suman also, something like an internal affairs. But who will comprise that team? It has to be independent. It has to be people who can act with integrity, right? And also, I believe the best
Albert, you and
fit.
I used to talk about these things many years ago, We maybe forget. Yeah,
And
way
it has
back.
to, and most likely it has to be from the outside,
Outside, yeah.
right?
Yeah, could be. And
People who cannot be infected easily or swayed or bribed. Like Captain Singh mentioned, you really can't bribe a DEA agent, right? So yeah. So I think that is something that we can exploit and propose down the road.
Well, I think down the road is here. I think now is the time for something like this to happen. I think this is the best opportunity we would have.
Well, write it up. Write it up. I mean, I've sent it, in several messages and stuff before, but something that's like how Suman write up the other proposal. We could write it up. So we could discuss it off here and make all the recommendation.
We decided to build the structure.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Yeah.
All right, I think we basically covered everything. Let's see here. Let's have one advertisement here for.
No, Gary, one thing I wanted to touch, because the Exim Bank guy.
Yeah, definitely. I want to expand on it. I want to expand on it tomorrow night. Let's see if we can get Vade.
Okay. I got to talk to you off air tomorrow on it.
Yeah. So we will expand on it tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So pull everything together and we'll deal with that tomorrow night. All right, guys. So we'll say good night.
All right, guys. Good night.
Take care.
Good night. Samad, Gary, have a good night.
Have a good one. Yep.
Take care. Bye.